During the tumultuous time for the Bond series that was the early 1990s, James Bond Jr. was created to hopefully get a younger audience interested in Bond. Unfortunately, James Bond Jr. was not successful, and the story of James Bond Jr. is a tale for another video. Today, we are looking at the James Bond Jr. comics from Marvel. And this is issue 1 covering the episode The Beginning, which is such a Bondian title. I mean, think about the Bond series. We have Goldfinger, The Spy Who Loved Me, Moonraker, and of course here we have The Beginning. Anyway, let's get into this. We first see an Aston Martin in rural England being chased by a limousine. As the limousine shoots at the car drives right off a cliff, but all is not lost. We see a finger press a button for a flight conversion, which then turns the car into a plane, which is not something any Bond cars ever did besides that AMC in The Man with the Golden Gun. We also see a very dark figure get out of the limo with a dog. Who might this be? Anyway, on the southeastern coast of England lies Warfield Academy, where some students are being talked to by the school's headmaster. One student is missing, however, late on his first day. That student is, of course, our hero, James Bond Jr., who lands in his Aston Martin to the astonishment of the students and anger of the headmaster. And we also get some totally cool 80s and early 90s dialogue with Radical. We also get the famous introduction with an added junior at the end, which does not sound good in any universe. In the headmaster's office, our hero gets a dressing down from the headmaster and is shown around by one of the teachers, Buddy Mitchell, who will be someone we see quite a bit in the series. Buddy Mitchell apparently worked with James Bond 007 whenever Mr. Mitchell was in the FBI. And I love how the comic tells what the FBI means. I guess people in the early 90s just didn't know what it means. Anyway, in the dorm, Bond meets Horace Boothroyd, also known as IQ, who, of course, is the grandson of Q. As Junior says, "My uncle's always talking about him." Would like to know what he's saying about him. Anyway, IQ is, of course, finishing an experiment while Junior uses a laser watch. Keep in mind, this is before GoldenEye came out, and the only laser watch we've had was from Never Say Never Again and a few obscure comic strips in the past. Anyway, in the dining hall, Bond meets Gordo Leiter, who is of course the son of Felix Leiter. Gordo is presented as someone who really belongs in another cartoon show from the early 2000s, one that I watched whenever I was a little boy called Rocket Power. He's pretty much a stereotype of a skater or surfer guy. And in his first scene, we see him snowboard down the stairs, crashing into another student, Tracy Milbanks, whose father is the headmaster of the academy. Not sure how I feel about them using Bond's dead wife's name as the love interest of Bond's nephew, but it is what it is. We all also meet Moneypenny-like Phoebe, and I call her this because all she does is pretty much fawn over James Bond Jr., and we also meet snooty rich kid Trevor Noseworthy. So right now we've pretty much met all of James Bond Jr.'s little gang of students and some of his teachers. Anyway, all while Bond Jr. meets all of his classmates, we see the same shady character scheming with his henchman Jaws, who is completely different from his movie counterpart, as he talks much more and literally has a metal jaw, and I'm guessing that him and Dolly must not have worked out. Anyway, we learn that the dark, shady guy, his name is SCUM Lord, and he is the leader of SCUM, and that he's plotting to steal Bond's Aston Martin because it has an EMP generator that SCUM can use to control all computers in England, making SCUM all-powerful. Also love how the comic again educates us on what SCUM stands for, which is, of course, saboteurs and criminals united in mayhem. Anyway, SCUM Lord tells Jaws he will have the car delivered by a special messenger. I wonder who this special messenger might be. The suspense builds. Anyway, meanwhile, Bond gets a message that he has a package at the post office from his Uncle James. As Bond is grounded, he needs a way out, so Tracy shows him a secret passage, which reminds me a lot of the Bat Cave back in the old Adam West Batman TV show. Anyway, while at the post office, the boys leave Tracy in the car as they both go to the post office to get the package, which I'm guessing they must have thought was going to be very big. Jaws then steals the car, so the boys do the most logical thing, call Gordo Lauder to get the Warfield van. The gang finds the Aston Martin being put on a SCUM jet, which I just love how these, seemingly normal teenagers, just know what SCUM is. Anyway, Bond sneaks in the truck to find the car and Tracy, but Jaws catches them, puts them in the trunk, and drives it in the plane as our heroes watch on in horror. While on the plane, Bond Jr. uses his new IQ watch to cut through the trunk's lock. Realizing that the DB-5 cannot fly anymore, Bond decides to ram Jaws into the cockpit where Scumlord and the dog is, and that causes the plane to dive. Jaws then begins literally eating through the car as Bond and Tracy parachute out, and it really does look like the bad guys are literally going to die. But as this is a cartoon, Jaws falls into a farmhouse and we see Scumlord and his dog parachute. Back at Warfield, Noseworthy tries to get Bond in trouble, but Bond has fortunately snuck back in with the help of our boy IQ. Mr. Mitchell tells Bond Jr. that even though he saved Tracy, the EMP generator was not on the DB-5. All is not lost though, as Bond Jr. has been gifted a new car from 007, but it's pretty much just a generic red sports car. We end the comic with our gang of heroes riding off in the Aston Martin, living on to die another day. So that is all for this comic. I actually am a fan of James Bond Jr., having viewed the show in my younger days via VHS at a rental store. And just saying VHS at a rental store really does make me feel old. James Bond Jr. #1 was followed by 11 more Marvel comics, and we will most definitely be checking them out. I've heard some Bond fans really hate on James Bond Jr., but honestly, I think there's a lot to like here, and give it a chance, and you just might like it. You're probably going to cringe a lot, but there's still a lot to like. So I will see you on the next video, where we're going to be looking at James Bond Jr. #2, The Eiffel Target. I'll see you next time.